Speaking of HMS fanboys, I am getting some mentions that like I was responsible for Byron losing.
Yeah, I saw that on Twitter.
What the f*** are people watching?
The following is a production of Dirty Mo Media.
Hey guys, welcome to Actions Detrimental post Coca-Cola 600 week Memorial Day. Here we are, Memorial Day afternoon now. Had to push back, stayed at the racetrack last night. Came home this morning. How was y'all's weekend?
I'm licking my wounds right now. We're
Same.
tad hungover, a little different.
Are you?
Yeah.
Did you have a day yesterday?
I had a day and an evening.
And it started with the morning?
So when you sent the text, you're like, I wanted to do it today, but when you said 12, I'm like, oh, thank you, Lord.
What were we supposed to push to Tuesday?
No, we originally were doing it today.
Oh.
So I was like,
Travis was planning on a 10 a.m. show.
Yeah. So I'm glad you pushed it because, I mean, I don't, like, you've seen me, like, after the Indiana game, I was fine. Like, I'm worse. I think I drank less this weekend than I did the Indiana night, and I feel worse here. So I don't know.
Man, bad alcohol. Did you switch things up or no?
Just beer and vodka and tequila.
I don't think you're supposed to mix those.
It's never been a big problem. I don't know.
Huh.
Yeah. Jared?
Yeah.
My weekend did not contain any alcohol. It just was race cars from the moment I woke up on Saturday to the moment I went to bed last night.
You had one victory.
Yep. Thank goodness I stuck around. I asked, yes, I was watching the Xfinity race from Denny's bus. He says, what are you doing here? I'm like, I'm just waiting to see if Byron wins. And Denny says, there's 40 laps to go. I said, you think Byron's going to win this? I think he was like 15th at the time after a speeding penalty.
I said no chance.
He said, no f***ing way. And
yeah, it's just it had to be the perfect scenario at the end. The caution,
Xfinity delivers.
Run a corner, get a caution. Run a corner, get a caution. Xfinity guys, Martinsville this thing at the end.
What do you make of Allgaier was told to pit, and I believe he said that he heard the order and just didn't listen to it. Like,
yeah, not good. Drivers are not crew chiefs. I've found that the most successful way to do things, just listen to whatever the crew chief says. You could debate them, I think, and sometimes maybe influence the crew chief, but they have a way bigger picture than you up on that pit box. And so now, to give Justin credit, I think if the race only had one of those restarts, maybe two, I think maybe he still has a good shot at it. But like I said, that they would run a corner, the guys with new tires would pick up 2 spots, caution. Pick up 2 spots, caution. And it's just next thing you know, they were right on his ass and he had no shot. Have
you ever where you're like, you got an order and you're like, nope, not doing it? And was that like
not
younger?
Not that I can remember. I'm sure I did maybe early on my career. I definitely never, if they say it's your choice, we think we should pit. Sometimes if I feel stay, then that tells me they think it's 50-50. And so I'll just kind of look and see who in front of me is pitting. I'll look in my mirror to see, who's coming behind me. All those things. So
you say the crew chief has a bigger picture. Is that bigger picture that the crew chief has obviously worth more than like what you're feeling in the car?
Well, I think what Justin probably felt, the only thing is that he had 30 some laps on his tires. Like, it wasn't like he had 10 or 15. And so you would think that they got some sort of wear to him. And he's thinking, well, I'm still running a pretty good pace. I looked at the lap times when they made that decision. From his fastest lap of that run to when the caution came out, he had slowed down 0.8. He's probably thinking, okay, this caution, I'm going to fire back off within 0.2 of my fastest lap. I'll get half of that back or maybe more from cooling the tires off. And he had a decent buffer but just not enough with all those crazy cautions at the end.
Yep. So William Byron wins that Xfinity race, his first Charlotte win, hometown win. This was he felt like it was big for him because it was a Charlotte win, being a hometown guy.
Can I call bullshit on that? Like he was like, "Oh, I'm going to remember this win forever." It was an Xfinity win. You're not when he's not remembering this win.
Thanks, Trav. Trav's keeping it real over there.
Like you racing for Cup championships and you're remembering this? No, sorry.
That car won the race last year, I think, with Chase Elliott. I think you're expected to win, but still, everyone has certain wins have special meaning to them and for them that we don't understand.
Let me ask you this, though, as just like a general driver perspective. When you go down to run Xfinity race, like when you go down to run Darlington, do you feel like I should win this race? Like I'm a full-time Cup guy, and then
yeah, I feel like it. If
I don't win this race, it's going to be a disappointment.
It's an indictment on me.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Even though it is a little more difficult, because you are switching cars, you don't have a whole lot of time to adapt back to it. The cars do drive so differently, but still, it's like, I don't know. I just think the best drivers adapt and are able to adapt pretty quickly.
Well, clearly he was good, obviously, in the Xfinity race, and then that did carry over into the Coke 600 because 24 car was pretty good last night too.
It was.
Did you feel like you were better than him? I got it as good. Mm-hmm. We've been talking about on this show for the last 3 years how you can't pass because dirty air. You can't pass because dirty air. Now you pass in dirty air, and now you can't hold the lead. Mm-hmm. How does that work?
Yeah, so the next gen car goes through the most of the transition with it is that it gets looser as you burn fuel and the back of the car starts to come up. The car just generally gets looser. You don't load it as much. You can't drive in the corners deep. So you lose a lot of rear downforce as runs go on. Well, what can make that even worse is that if you get in clean air and you have nobody in front of you, you're not pushing the front tires to their capability. You can't drive in deep enough to push the front tires to their capability and then bias your wear to the front. So then next thing you know, you get loose, and you get a lot loose. And so I was always able to keep pace with Byron and really be right on his ass the entire second half of the race, but it's where my car was best. Now, he did a good job kind of aero blocking at times, but I felt like, okay, when we worked him over and finally got to the lead, my balance instantly shifted quite a bit, and next thing you know, I was loose. I was fighting the same thing that he was fighting when I was right behind him. So it just was interesting. That's what made it such a good and compelling and close race, is that the advantage actually belonged to the second place guy. Not as much as Xfinity, but the leader was disadvantaged more than it typically is. He still had the advantage as far as being able to aero block. We saw it a bunch of times where like Byron would come down, take my line, and it would just make my car just shoot up the racetrack. That is still a major, major issue. But it didn't allow you to get away. Once you got out front, in the long run, typically somebody was coming and catching you because your balance would go loose.
Is that a Charlotte thing, or
it's most intermediates, but Charlotte seems to be a little bit worse.
Yeah.
Just simply because you got a little bit more lap time drop off from early in run to end of run. So the car goes through, the bigger the lap time drop off, the bigger transition it will go with balance.
Got it. That was very glaring to me watching that race. I'm thinking it the whole time, like, okay, well, if you can hang with the 24 car and you're behind him, that surely once you pass him, then you're going to be able to set sail.
And we did for a minute. Like for a while after we passed him, we 10th faster, 2/10 fast, just going. And the next thing you know, my car's getting loose again. And so it's one of those weird things that that's what made that racing so close, that second half.
Hated it for you, but it's fun to see you not be able to just hold on to, like, the first place driver to hold on to the lead.
Well, this is what you get when you get lap time drop off and fall off in the tire. You'll get this type of racing. That's what we've been asking for, is that, if we're all just in the mat, our on throttle time from the beginning of the run to the end of the run throughout the course of the corner, let's just pretend it's 100%. It's not, let's just say it's 70% on throttle through the corner on new tires. It's maybe 40-50% on older tires. That is what allows me to make moves and drive in there deep enough to get next to him and then manipulate the air that he has. So that's the key in the riddle to making good racing.
Had you been able to comfortably take the lead and, then there been a caution or a pit stop of some sort, can you then compensate for the car? Be like, okay, now we have the lead. Now we're going to shift it so his balance is better. And ideally, we're just going to control the rest of this race.
Yeah, that pretty much is exactly the case. And it's why it's really hard to, kind of think about, what you need to tell the team when you're back in 20th. Like, the air is so bad and your car handles so badly that sometimes what happens is teams overadjust. Drivers overtell the story of what they've got because it's of the air conditions that they're in. And as they get further and further towards the front, they need to start changing their balance to accommodate.
So did you have a plan with 60 to go on how you were going to potentially win this race?
Yeah, 60 to do you know where I was at with 60 to go?
You were second or third.
Yeah, I was second. Yep. This is right before a pit stop. At that time, I was right behind Byron. I think we had switched the lead back and forth a few times. And at that point, we're 10 laps away from a pit stop. And so I knew a lot was going to come down to whenever who chose to pit, when did they choose to pit, and then how did we do executing the on and off and the pit stop itself. We came on pit road pretty much identical. We came the same lap, but the gap was the same. Rolling, I'm not really sure, but the pit stop, it looked like we beat them slightly, maybe a car length worth on the pit stop. And then on corner exit, I'm beside him, but he has a fender out front, and you can't tell on TV, and people are wondering about my pit exit, is that there is not room for two cars on the, so let's just say the apron itself has 0 degrees banking. Then there's a transition before the racetrack where it's 1 lane wide, and let's just pretend it's got 18 degrees of banking. And then the racetrack's got, let's just say 25. So the only way to make that corner with any kind of speed is you need to be in that transition. You can't go on the racetrack, obviously. So you need to be in that transition. It's only 1 car wide. And so versus trying to race Byron on this 1 lane, 18 degree of banking apron and probably shoving both of us up onto the racetrack in a inopportune time, I thought that he had the right of way. Truthfully, he was a fender ahead, and I knew that Chastain was close enough to where we can't lose a whole lot of time dicking around here on pit exit. Like, I feel good enough about my chances with 50 to go that I've been within 1 car length of him for 150 laps here. Surely I'm going to get another chance at this. And so when we came back out, my balance was a little tight, and when you don't get enough fuel in it, it also makes it tighter. And so we tried to compensate for kind of the air that we were going to have, all those things, but we didn't compensate for the 4 to 5 gallons of fuel that we were missing, and that made my car even tighter. But even still, Byron pulled out a little bit because of my balance to about 10 lengths. And then we started reeling him back in. And then as we're reeling him back in, they say, we're not going to make him fuel. So at that point, I'm okay. Now I'm going to manage my risk somewhat. I'm still going to try to go get him in case a caution falls. But then they had that Reddick thing where he bobbled. I lifted off the gas for that. Chastain came past me. I pitted. Then they had their battle there, the last 10.
Yeah, it looked like coming off pit road, they were showing it on TV that he kind of, like you said, may just had the right of way, but he kind of like cuts in front of you, and you have to lift off the gas and fall in line
I lifted
behind.
simply because if I stay in there in his door, again, this is, when I say it's 1 lane wide, it is 1 lane wide. You maybe have 4 feet of extra room maybe on both sides. Like, it's just not enough. It's not enough to fit 2 cars through there, especially that are trying to race competitively off a pit lane exit. And again, I didn't feel the sense of urgency simply because I felt like I was a little better than him in that last 100 laps over as a whole. I mean, we were equal. I mean, he had his strengths, I had my strengths, and that's why you kept seeing us go back and forth. Like, we were very equal. And so I thought that, this is not, I don't need to risk my race in crashing here on the apron, when I think I'm going to get another shot.
Yeah. How did Chastain make up all this ground and then ultimately pass Byron for the win?
So I knew that my balance was not where it needed to be on the car on that last run, and still was catching Byron in the long run. So I thought that just Chastain nailed his balance. I thought that the 22 and the 45 was holding up the 24 just enough to give him some dirty air. And yeah, they just reeled him in. I looked at the end of the race and I knew that I saw Logano with lots of laps to go, and Byron actually never ended up passing him. So I guess, he just lost the balance of his car.
Is there an advantage when you're Chastain? I imagine when you're the leader and you lead 300 laps this race, like
It's
Byron
way
did,
easier
you're just
to chase than
right.
to be chased.
You just can't screw it up. Like, let's stay within what we got going here. And, if you're Chastain.
Yeah, and that's what I talked about with you on why I thought it was easier for me to chase than to be chased, is that, when I get out front, I'm, unless it's like a short track, intermediates, we are on the ragged edge. I know you can't see it on TV, and sometimes they show where we're kind of getting bobbled or out of shape, but I mean, we're 1 tire slip away from spinning out, one way or another. And so when I get to the lead, I crank it down to 90%, right? And then what happens then is the person behind is like, okay, well, I'm going to 100. I'm chasing now. And so it just always is going back and forth in that kind of way. And so it's that's why you saw the race staying as tight as it was. And for Byron, he's trying to get around these lap cars, and that's something that he hadn't. It's almost like Darlington. Do you remember Darlington? He dominated the race, but there was no lap traffic. And until he got to lap traffic, that's where it was like, okay, he's vulnerable. He couldn't move around as good as he needed to. Like when I watched him, he had 2 lanes that he could go. And so luckily and fortunate for me, the 1 lane he was leaving open is where I was best. So that made for really, really good racing, because he was never really in my way or in my lane, and I never really was in his. So we both got to utilize our strength.
Yeah, I noticed that. I watched the your in-car HBO Max Cam for 2 significant stints of this race. The first one being earlier in the day when you were running 7th or 8th, trying to pass Allmendinger, and he could run all over the racetrack.
I was so frustrated. Yeah.
Yeah. But then I've noticed that, right? He can run all over the track.
He was running all over the track because he was staring in his mirror. Yeah.
But his car could do that, right? Whereas when you
was slowing down to do it. Like,
okay.
Yeah.
But when you get to Byron, it seemed like William was very consistent in the line that he was running, and you could do what you wanted to do.
Yeah, I felt pretty versatile. I felt as though I was best in the middle of the racetrack. He was best all the way at the top. But I could run the top when I needed to. Like I could do it. It's not like I relied on it. And so it seemed like Chastain was really good on the top. He was able to make the bottom work a few times in 3 and 4 as well. But yeah, it was strength on strength.
When you're trying to set up, like you're trying to chase down Byron, are you running a line that maybe isn't your strength to get him to block that, so then like set him up to make that move with the line that you know is going to work for you?
Yeah. So every time I would catch him, he would move down to my lane. He was willing to sacrifice overall lap time to just block, and that's typically kind of how it normally goes in the Cup Series now. Is that everyone just plays defense versus running minimum lap time, and so. You got to have a car that's versatile. You can't have one that it makes speed as long as I've got this one line. Like, I really focus on making sure I can run the same lap time in multiple lanes. It's like option A, option B, option C. Like, I know when I see them dart one way or the other, I've got like 0.3 of a second to then make up my mind, where am I going? And I know in my head I've got 3 options. I know what the 3 fastest lanes are for my car on any given day, and based off of where they go, then I'll choose what option I'm going to take.
I thought Amazon did a good job of. They were showing Byron's eyes, like they were like, watch right now, he's going to look down because he's looking at his mirror, and like I thought it was interesting to see you guys trying to go after each other. Yeah,
they showed your eyes too. I mean, you'd win. Certainly no one's beating you in a staring contest when you're in a race car.
No, I felt it last night. I had to put like 20 drops in each eye. Like, my eyes were so freaking dry. And when I look at the clips on social media of me I've done this my whole career. I remember at Bristol, they had an in-car and I had a clear visor. And I think I went, I think it was like 6 or 7 straight laps with not one blink. No blink. And it's just, I don't know, that's just always the way it's not intentional. Right. I do a lot of weird f***ed up things, but I don't, it's just habit.
I've always wondered why drivers wear glasses, because I hate when I wear contacts, but it makes sense. Like, if you wear contacts, those things are going to get so dry, and like you can't afford that.
I mean, mine were like welded shut. Or welded open. Just yikes. I mean, even today I feel it. So I know that I can feel when I am staring and not blinking after races. Like, there's some races that I do it, everything feels fine afterwards. But there's some races where the intensity's up. I just don't blink.
Can you like not afford to blink? Or
I don't know what it is. I think it's just focus.
Right.
I think it's just focus.
Yeah, it looked like your head was also...
Gosh, that was
bouncing around in there.
And, they showed that quite a bit, and we tried to fix it overnight because I had it real bad in practice, and it's just a weird situation where the track is so bumpy at Charlotte in turns 3 and 4 that I try. We have a minimum left side headrest, minimum right side, and so I have this small gap that's in between. Well, as I'm going over these bumps, I noticed in practice, like, my head was just ping-ponging off of both sides. And it's almost like if you dropped a ping pong ball on this table, how it gets the rebound and then it just keeps going and keeps going. That's what I felt like. It just wouldn't stop. Even after I was done with the bumps, the thing is still rattling back and forth. So we tried to open the gap a little bit for Sunday, and it might have made it a little bit better. But it's something we got to look into, because, I told him I'm going to be concussed after this race. I am just getting my head knocked side to side every lap.
Were other drivers having this issue?
I don't know. I would think so. Everyone's,
like, I'm wondering if it's more of a next gen issue that they need to look into versus
Were there any other head cameras?
Yours was obviously certainly the one that stood out.
Well, you said you saw Byron staring. Right?
Yeah.
So he had one.
Yeah.
I'll check.
There were other cameras of people's heads,
right?
Their eyes, but yours seemed to be the only one that stood out as this guy's all over the place. But are those bumps in the track not like? Do they not affect the car? You know, like
They
you
do.
bump at Texas and watch 10 people spin out, but bump at Charlotte and no one.
So I call the bumps at Charlotte more of a high frequency bump. So they're not as deep, but there's more of them. Think of it like this. You know those sound bumps that you have on the side of the highway when you go off? Like it's similar, like the track is like that, but obviously they're not as close together. So it's more of a high frequency bump versus a speed bump.
Like a swell.
Yeah.
Got it.
And so Texas challenges the rear of the car in a sense of like it bottoms out the back of the car, which causes those cars to spin out. This one the tires just kind of chatter across these less deep bumps.
Hey, it's Dale Jr. Did you know that we've got brand new merch from our Stars, Stripes, and Beers collection available now? We've got tanks, tees, beach towels, and more just in time for summer. Check it all out at shop.dirtymomedia.com.
Do you know what happened with your car with the fueling situation at the end of the race?
It looked like just none of the second can fuel got plugged in. Obviously, we saw it running down onto the ground. So to me, I haven't talked to anyone, but it seems as though when I look at it, the plug, he just didn't get it plugged correctly. So like if you don't have the head of your fuel can perfectly straight and in line when it goes to plug in, it won't dispatch the fuel into the car. Instead, it'll open up the valve in the fuel can, but it will just run out onto the ground, and that's what happened. That's what looks like what happened.
So this is not something that they figured out immediately. Like you said, you ran 10 laps or so before Gail came across the radio and said, "Hey, FYI."
Yeah. So what will happen? Little NASCAR 101 on how they know how far our fuel mileage can go, is that they know how much a full fuel can weighs, and they weigh it before the pit stop. And then after the pit stop, after they put the fuel in, they'll reweigh the can, and they'll know how much lighter it is, how many gallons got in the car. And they'll watch video to see, well, how much do we have to count for spillage? How much And so usually there's not a whole lot of spillage, but when they probably reweighed the can and the can weighed similar to what it did before the pit stop, and we needed to get some of that second can, not enough to slow the pit stop down, but just enough to hit it for a second, right? More than likely when they reweighed it and then watched the video to see how much went on the ground, they at that time they said they don't think anything from that second can actually got in the car.
Now, strategy-wise, you guys think it was in stage 3, waited on fuel on a green flag stop, as well as a handful of the other Toyotas. It didn't seem like Byron did the same, because you came in behind.
Well, he was going to have to at some point. It just was hidden in the weeds where you didn't see it.
Right, because it didn't seem like that affected him at all during this race. He always came out.
It could have he could have added more fuel at the start of stage 4, the final stage, which is maybe why we came off pit road first. You know what I mean? I think he came off third.
He came off third. Yep, you're right.
So what he was probably banking on is that let me top off my fuel now. That way I only need one can when we come under green. Where we said, let me get the track position now, and I'd rather wait that 1 second under green versus waiting that 1 second under caution, because 1 second under caution will lose you more spots than that 1 second under green will.
That's right.
Is there any way that the fueler can know that he didn't hit it? So like, is there anything that could have been done where he's like, hold on, and so you stay a little longer and make sure you get the fuel? Or is there anything?
No, because the crew chief had already notified me to go on the jack. So, he typically will tell me to either wait on fuel, wait on a head nod from the fuel guy, or just go on the jack. When the pit stop's done, we're getting out of here. And where I got a little confused was that he told me at the start of stage 4 that we're borderline just need one can. Mm-hmm. Like It was going to be close. And so at that point, I'm thinking, great, I don't have to wait. I didn't have to wait at the beginning of the stage, and I'm not going to have to wait under the green flag pit stop either. But usually on a normal 4-tire pit stop, that's 9.5 seconds, you can get one can in, and then you'll get a second, maybe, of a second can. Maybe 2 seconds of a second can. So typically, if you need more than that, you're going to have to wait, and then, who knows where you come out. But Byron put himself, it appears, that or they had a slow pit stop, one of the two. But everyone had to wait on fuel at some point of the day. It just was hidden in all the mess.
Are you always at every racetrack, are you always on a knife's edge when it comes to these fueling situations and just don't really know it until it goes wrong?
Well, it's just a lot of it depends on how long the stage lengths are, and with each stage being an equal length, it just put us always in that. Let's think about this. It's if you only wait for your pit stop only every time, you're rarely ever going to get your gas tank back to full. Unless you have like a lot of cautions that are back to back to back and you're pitting, every 30 laps, then you can keep your tank pretty much topped off the whole time. But when you have long green flag runs, typically it's like, they'll say pay me now or pay me later. You can wait on fuel now or you can wait on fuel later. You pick which one. And so it actually makes for an interesting twist in the strategy of like, when do you decide to wait that little bit of extra time? And I think I did it during, the green flag stop, stage 2 or 3. Yeah. Like it was where I was somewhat close to Byron again.
Yeah, you were 3 seconds back maybe, and then you come off pit road, you're 9
seconds back. Right. Yeah, because we waited an extra 3 or 4 seconds on fuel because we felt like we would lose less positions waiting 3 or 4 seconds for fuel under green, which at that time we lost, I think, 3 spots. If I wait 3 or 4 seconds under yellow, think about when you see the cars crossing that timing line for pit out. That's 8 spots, and you just don't want to do that.
Yeah, it just seems like there's so little margin for error when it comes to this fuel stuff, right? Because as you said, they know how much they got in it by weighing it before and after. But then how much fuel didn't actually get in the car? How much went on the ground? There's so many variables to know if you actually have enough. And maybe it's just listening to your radio so much, but it seems like it's happened a handful of times in the last handful of years.
Where PTSD.
Where it's like there's always
Talladega,
some sort of fueling
we come out,
issue.
Not enough fuel. That's why I'm just utterly frustrated. Is that in the last 3 or 4 years, I had to pit on the white flag lap of Pocono while leading.
Right.
Like me, man.
So we sing. I know you won't say a whole lot here because you don't want to throw them on a bus, but we sing like pit crews are a big thing nowadays where everyone's talking about them. They're these former athletes and how important they are. Do you talk to them afterwards, or what's the dynamic like? Because
no,
when you win,
that's the team's place. I'm the driver. It's not my.
You're the quarterback, though.
I know, but it's not my job to yell at the offensive lineman. Like, I get it that the quarterback does sometimes, but they're trying. It's not like they're trying to screw up, but it happens. It happens sometimes. I have an issue because I only know what has happened to me. I don't know what has happened to anyone else. Maybe others have got bad beats, but I just know over the last few years, the lack of fuel that I have at the end of the race is a lot. It is a lot. And it drives me crazy because it happens so often.
Do you talk to your crew chief and find out like why this is happening or if it's an issue?
Yeah, I know, Talladega was the last time that it happened. That wasn't that long ago. We were using the iPad. I was going on the iPad, but if you look and they replayed it on TV, it was like a stutter plug, like in the sense of like tried to hit it, it didn't go in. and then he got it in. So that extra 0.4 of fuel that we didn't get was not enough fuel for me to go hammer down on the last part of the race. Indy, I was in a fantastic shot to win Indy. That was a little different, but I had to play fuel saving the whole end of that run. There's just been so many. I need a day or two more to just get over it. But I am super frustrated. But if we want to talk about the pit crew, we can talk about also how they picked me up 7 spots on the first pit stop. I think they picked me up 3 or 4 on the next. Like, I got I started 20th. They got me half the spots. I can tell you that.
Yeah. The last question I have when it comes to the fueling thing is just in general, when this does happen, is it because of like a human error, like a tire guy doesn't get the tire tight? Is it a human error, or is it like, we just kind of messed up the strategy here and how much we thought we needed?
Sometimes it can be a mix of both. Sometimes you can not get the fuel mileage that you thought you were get. Maybe I'm not doing a good job out on the racetrack of saving fuel as good as others. Everyone has a role in it, right? I certainly have my role as well. But in these types of situations, we decided to, pay our debts later, having to get that extra, we had to get a splash of that second can. And then, so you're relying on just the timing has to be just absolutely perfect. And, percentage wise, usually it is, but it always seems to be when you're in contention that it just doesn't really pan out like you expected.
Ross Chastain wins the World 600, and if you look at Trackhouse, he's really overachieving when you compare him to his teammates.
Yeah, I mean, new week, same slogan. You always compare yourself versus your teammates, and he is consistently the top guy over there. But we need to give credit to Trackhouse this weekend. We've been pretty hard on them in their lack of speed, lack of everything to start the year, but they absolutely showed up. The one was the fastest car in practice by a chunk, not a little bit. And when he wrecked, you look at the left rear tire and they're like,
That's right.
They were being a little aggressive on something, and that's where the speed was coming from. But I think that they proved by driving towards the front over the course of, and you heard Ross say, it took the entire race to get there. Him starting dead last, they had the real speed. That the 88 showed it, the 99 not so much. But is it by happenstance that the one? I mean, I was looking at the rankings, and I think Chastain's been like the 17th fastest car on intermediates this year. I mean, just not. This was out of the blue. This was absolutely out of the blue. But it wasn't just him. It was Shane as well. Shane is run 30th in most races, and he got a great finish of 14th. And I mean, man, so is it? Did him and Ross just happen to show up on the same weekend? I don't believe so. I believe that they hit on something, and all the teams certainly will be checking things out and investigating to figure out where the speed came from overnight.
How much of a
it didn't happen overnight, right? They could be working on something that some sort of new setup or something like that they just now could get in the car. I don't know.
What's the next race that you would expect them to race well off of this race?
Well, you could use kind of Nashville as another kind of baseline to it. While it's not as fast as Charlotte, the setups will have some similar characteristics to it. So you could say that, is it just a Charlotte thing or is it a car speed thing that they found? We'll know that this weekend.
How much of a disadvantage were they at going to a backup car after practice?
I mean, that's what kind of leads you into, a setup / tire thing, because they did it with the backup car. Now they did have the ability to work on it at the shop. So maybe if the backup car didn't have as many updates to it, as what his primary did. More than likely, if they were able to go to their shop, they were able to fine tune it more so back into being a primary. So I don't think he was at as big of a disadvantage that most people who wreck in practice have, not being at home.
How much different is the backup car from the primary car? For like an average fan like me, like I assume that like why aren't the cars basically the same?
They're not a whole lot different. The parts and pieces are the same, but there's constantly little updates that the teams will implement in the cars that happen, and sometimes the backup car just through the processes and time that it takes to do it, it doesn't get put into the backup car. Now they'll do that. They'll probably work on the backup car every month, every 4 to 5 races, and get it a little more up to date. You know what I mean? So that you're not going to unload a car that, we haven't done anything to it since Daytona, right? It's probably it's a primary somewhere else. But most of these backup cars are truly backup cars, and that's what they're assigned to do.
This was the debut for the Prime broadcast. Have you gone back and watched it at all yet?
I haven't, but from social media, they seem to really, really like it. I did get to watch the post-race show. I thought that was fantastic. Nothing but, I just kind of go off of, their on-air talent is super smart with their analysis. They hired all the right people. So I think it's going to be, Adam Alexander is a great play-by-play guy. I mean, you got Dale and Steve Letarte, and they talk about Steve Letarte and how much, he talks, but he is elite at what he does. He's very knowledgeable. He breaks things down to me in a very simple way. So it just, I'm excited to go back and see how they presented the race.
Yeah, and I didn't realize that it's perfect. This 5-race stretch is perfect because if you don't have Prime, you can just sign up for the free trial, the free month trial of Prime, and then boom, you've got your Prime NASCAR races.
Also, who doesn't have, like, everyone shops on Amazon, so I feel like Prime's the easiest streaming device to have service. Like, everyone shops on Amazon, therefore, like, you pretty much probably already have Prime to begin with. Like, we got to stop crying about this.
I don't have Prime, Travis.
Do you not shop on Amazon?
I don't shop that much. I don't spend too much money.
I mean, my mom's the biggest race fan ever, but I don't know that she has it. I mean, or would figure out without my help.
Right. That's the thing. That's the key.
Right. Without my help, her understanding how to go get Prime is probably the barrier.
Yeah. And NASCAR is probably dealing with that problem more than any other sport,
Yes.
right? Because of the demographic of the fans.
That's right.
Yeah. But yeah, I thought they did good. I thought the post-race show was great. Just the fact that has been brought back into NASCAR was cool. But just so you know, if you have a real gut-wrenching second-place finish, you're going to be expected to go up there and talk for 10 minutes.
Yeah. I saw Byron had to go up there and do that. But yeah, it's you're going to get the rawest emotions in that moment.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Anything else on this race?
Not really. I only kind of saw it from my seat. We got to give flowers to Kaulig Racing. AJ Allmendinger ran in the top 5 to 10 all day long. I asked Kyle Busch, why like the 10 and the 16 were running better this year, and he thought he said that the RCR and Kaulig are working closer together, but Kaulig's outrunning them. Like the 16 and AJ Allmendinger, many races this year has been the best car out of the 4 to 5 cars that come out of Welcome. I mean, they're doing a fantastic job. AJ, I think he's in his low 40s, right?
Yeah.
He's not far behind me. Doing a phenomenal job. I mean, just absolutely a great job. And we need to give him credit for what they're doing over there.
17th in points is AJ.
Yeah, he climbed from 25th, I think, to 17th, like 8 spots. because, all the stages, and he ran up front all day, and, that was a big weekend for him.
Yeah, maybe they've given him a faster motor.
Maybe.
Some off-track stuff. You're wearing your Smoke Boys championship hat.
I am a champion, people.
What an electric game that was, though, by the way.
I got my first Hoop Group championship in, I think, 6 years.
Wow.
It's been quite a long time.
And you carried the team in the championship game.
That's arguable.
That was the first time that I'd seen Charlie vulnerable. Like, he didn't look right.
The moment was getting to him.
I thought so, too.
I mean, you were, 4 for 5 from 3?
Yeah. 1 for 1 from 2. 1 for 1 from the line.
Ron was in attendance. I wasn't sure who he was rooting for.
Oh, I know who he's rooting for, not us.
I mean, good Lord.
I know. He roots for, he's got a dog in every team.
He's like Jared with NASCAR.
I know. They're the same. They are the same. Did y'all get along in the bus while I was racing?
He did. He's saying blah, 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 but he got along just fine. I helped him into the bus, got him a seat, like he forgets all that. Conveniently.
Speaking of forgetting, Molly forgot his name. He has an Instagram video, and Molly just doesn't know his name.
Oh, man. So my week was, I'm telling you, I was primed for like the best week ever. I won GGT on Tuesday, our Golf Guys Tour golf tournament. Shot 78, went birdie, par finish to win that event. Won the Hoop Group title on Thursday, and I'm like, was it you? Or like, they come in threes.
Mm-hmm.
Like, well, 600, have a baby. Like,
Listen,
this could be the best week ever. Ever.
It's okay. Championships come in threes. This is number 2 for you this year. Just saying.
Well,
how are you doing, Jordan and baby on the way? How are you guys doing? Just ready?
she's ready. I can tell you that. She's had enough. I feel as though, and again, I don't have a human growing in my belly, but I feel as though she got through the first probably 7 months pretty good. This last few weeks she's had enough. She's had enough. I think she's ready to get this boy out.
Yeah, I mean, it's any day now, right? June 1st is the official due date.
I think it's this Sunday.
This Sunday. Nashville.
She can't be having it on Sunday.
So we may not have a podcast on Monday potentially then, right?
That's correct. So just
because if she
TBD.
because if it's on Monday, then
we'll just move it to on location.
Yeah, we just do it outside the room.
That'd be a good idea.
Speaking of
she'd love that.
Speaking of kids, Taylor national anthem.
She did. She sang the national anthem for the Better Half Dash. That was exciting. She did an amazing job. Holy cow. I mean, so proud of her. And so proud of Molly, too. As soon as she got done singing, she ran up there, gave her a big hug, and she was her biggest supporter. So
that's really tough, like, no matter what your age is, but as a kid to put yourself out there and sing the national anthem is tough.
No chance I would have been able to handle that. No way.
Yeah, and then did you watch the Indy 500 at all?
I got to watch a little bit of it. With my schedule and all the appearances and whatnot that I had, meet and greets, I didn't get to watch a lot of it. I got to watch the first 60 or 70, and then I didn't get to see but the last 30. So missed the action in between. Unfortunately, fortunately or unfortunately, missed the Kyle Larson wreck. It's just such an odd wreck because it appeared they weren't up to speed yet. Like if you look at how fast he was going when he crashed, it was, I don't know, I'm gonna estimate 160. Like
it was after a restart going.
Yeah. They were not up to speed yet, but I guess he just hit a weird pocket of air there or something, and the thing just swapped ends.
That race was it was like crazy. Everything you could think of happened.
Yeah, so I was wondering that like the the instability that came from that new hybrid, like they had to race with that too, right? That the extra weight in the back. Mm-hmm. So is that what made things so sketchy, Jared? Were you educating yourself while you were there? Or?
I have no idea.
Just taking pictures.
Yeah, just taking pictures and,
Okay.
and
Well,
taking an experience.
Scott McLaughlin wrecked. It was the track was cold and his tires were cold,
And he goosed it. If
Yeah.
you listen to the throttle, he's weaving, and then he, to try to get some heat in the rears, but he wasn't dead straight when he did it. Usually, when you're goosing your car, you want to have the wheels straight and your car going straight. Easy for me to say. I've never driven one of those things, but I'm just telling you in a race car, like when I go to spin my rear tires getting ready for a restart, I'm never doing it when I'm swerving. And he was swerving, and he just gave it a little gas to like get some heat going, and the fucking thing just spun out on him. It was crazy.
Watching it, I thought what had happened, because it just rained and it was like drizzling, right? And they're obviously trying to like get this race going. I thought that maybe the track wasn't completely dry. I was like, oh my gosh, they just had a situation where this favorite to win the race, totals it under yellow. Maybe the track wasn't dry. I guess that wasn't it. They didn't talk about that at all.
Did you speak with Austin at all?
Maybe he's just rubbing off on me. That's not good. I need to check myself.
He came in the bus and is serious as he could be. He's like, what do you think about that? That kind of looked kind of suspicious, don't you
Oh, he
think?
did. He said this too.
Oh, was Austin a conspiracy
shit.
theorist?
Oh,
That's not good for me. That's not good. He's getting into my head.
you
He's
were
rubbing
thinking
off
it
on me.
too?
I wasn't thinking it was suspicious, but I'm like, I don't know if the track was dry or like they maybe
that's
went
what I was
too
thinking.
green.
That the track was
He thought-
wet until I watched the replay, and I was like, oh no, I think he goosed it at a wrong spot. But he was like, yeah, they're trying to screw Larson. I'm like, no, that's what he said. That's what he said, and he was so serious. He was so serious. I said, Austin, dude, come on, man. I can't anymore. He's like, no, I'm just wondering. I'm just wondering. I'm just saying, listen, that ain't going to be the car that does it, if that's the case.
No, you can't make him walk the plank though, because I tell you what, there's no bigger supporter of you
No,
than
I agree.
when these cup cars are on track. If I told him if I had a nickel for every time he told me, we're good, bud. We're good, bud. You'd have like 3 race wins, and I'd have like $50.
Oh, man.
Did you see where you had the car catch on fire, and then dudes were on fire, and then also the pit crew got hit by the car too in the 500? Do you see those?
Nope.
Dude
Yeah,
just came in hot, and I'm surprised the dude didn't like break his leg. I don't know what the injury was, but just took him out. Like, I wouldn't be shocked if they changed the rule on when they get over the wall, because they're already over the wall when they come in, and he smoked them.
Damn.
It was Schwartzman.
Whew.
Yeah.
And then VK, I think his car caught on fire, and a couple dudes also caught on fire because of it. They were spraying them down.
Wow. It's interesting to see how those lap cars played into the end of the 500, because I thought it was not similar, but somewhat similar to the end of the Cup race. Because you had Logano up there and you had Reddick, and they're fighting to stay on the lead lap. It's giving Byron dirty air. But it was a detriment in the Cup race. It was an advantage for the leader in the Indy, because in Indy, the reason that you see so many passes at the end of the straightaway is because of the drag of the cars, and the straightaways are so long that there's an opportunity for, while you can't run close to each other in the corners at Indy, the straightaways are long enough that you see the toe, the drag.
Oh, that's what they say.
get. Well, with lap cars that were right in front of the leaders, it was giving the leader a toe down the straightaway. So they were going faster down the straightaway than what they normally would be, which didn't enable the cars behind to have enough draft to pass them.
Yeah.
So, I wish that they would have got out of the way and let it play out, because we probably would have saw a bunch of passes back and forth for the lead at the end of that race. But I think Alex Palou is just smoking them right now, right? Holy cow. 5 of the first 6 races. What a dream start.
Did he not pour the milk on himself?
No, he didn't. He didn't.
What do we?
He was told, I guess, not to. I watched his post race press conference, and Jenna Fryer asked him that question as to why he didn't.
He drank it though, right?
Yeah.
He drank it, and he said like his crew chief, or he had been told like don't pour the milk on yourself for whatever reason. I don't know.
If I win the 500, you can't tell me anything. I'm dumping that thing.
Travis, you'll dump a fucking tequila Sprite on your head after 3 drinks.
I don't do tequila Sprite, tequila soda.
Yes, you will do anything.
If you won a championship, come on.
Yeah.
I got a comment here, review from Tyler Robinson. I haven't missed an episode yet. I'm an HMS fanboy, but this show turned me into a DH fan. He's my favorite non-HMS driver, and I find myself pulling for him every race. Glad I finally got Denny's autograph at Kansas. Thanks for the autograph, and good luck the rest of the season. I hope you get your championship.
Speaking of HMS fanboys, I am getting some mentions that like I was responsible for Byron losing.
Yeah, I saw that on Twitter.
What the are people watching? I was behind him when he stepped on his
There's just a clip of you next to Byron and Chastain.
as I'm passing him.
This was after you pitted, right?
Right. I was behind him.
Yeah.
He got stuck behind the 22, got loose in 3 and 4. The 1 came with a massive run because he got loose behind the 22, and I went by both of them. And by the way, I lifted into turn 1 to let them race. If you look, when I got beside the 24 and here comes the 1 and they go 3 wide, I lifted into 1 because I'm like, I ain't getting in the middle of this. I'll pass them off of turn 2. What are these people watching?
Yeah, here, Denny Hamlin just held up William
And are they
Byron
that
and gave
dumb?
Ross Chastain the chance he needed.
What does that say?
Denny Hamlin just held up William Byron and he
How
gave...
can I hold him up when I'm behind him?
Listen, irrational fan, you can't blame your guy for losing.
But how can people be that dumb? If you said that, you're an idiot.
I've made many excuses for my teams losing, so
I
can
mean,
see
that
it.
is just asinine.
Joey and Denny were both
Anyway,
factors.
you think I give
but-
a at that point? I just pitted with 10 laps to go, trying to get back on the lead lap in case a caution comes. Then maybe I stay out because I got right side tires and I squeeze some sort of finish out of this freaking day.
Yeah, Andrew says Joey and Denny were both factors, but since Denny had to pit
I was
out
not a
of the
factor.
out of the top
That
5,
is stupid.
he
I was
said
not a
fuck
factor.
Byron.
I was the least person in the way of anyone on the racetrack. I held my line really, really low. I didn't side draft anyone. Nothing. Byron stepped on his off of turn 4, and the 1 came with a run, and he passed him.
Why don't we lead with this?
God, we just lost all our HMS fans.
No, I mean, they're not all like, they can't all be this stupid. It's just the 1 or 2 that was in the mentions. Not all of you guys. I respect most of you.
For what it's worth, the person who did post that, Steven Toronto,
Isn't he a reporter?
Yeah, he's like
apparently.
What is he watching?
it's even worse.
Anyway, move on.
That's all. Next week, we're at Nashville. The race is at 7 p.m. Eastern on Prime. Night race, Sunday night.
Okay. Well, we're going to give it another go. Nashville, more PTSD, 9 overtime finishes as we're dominating that race. Ran down Ross, passed him with, handful of laps to go. Austin Cindric plays grab ass with somebody down the backstretch. Spins, doesn't touch anything. Spins, does the 360, keeps going. They throw the caution, and then 9 overtimes later, I had to pit after the 5th overtime, maybe 6th. I'm cursed.
Well, you got to feel good that you were good at Nashville last year.
Oh, feels phenomenal. I think I finished 12th. Anything else?
That's all I got.
All right, good. Let's go enjoy the rest of our day. We'll see you guys next week.